Welcome to Foul Play, a PowderPuff edition.
Hi there. Today we're going to be talking about the Gilter's Challenge. I have provided a link in the description so that you can follow along if you can't read the screen. We're really just going to take a look at, the different questions that were asked and kind of bring forward the fact that so much has been found out about a lot of these questions, but this is actually the Steven Avery Proof of Guilt Challenge. And Gilter's claims Steven is guilty of the murder of Teresa without exception. And on this first page, we have questions 1 through 3. And it says, Proof of Guilt Challenge. We're so convinced that you will fail to answering the following 100 questions that will offer an award of $10,000 to anyone who fully answers all 100 questions based upon credible evidence that establishes Mr. Avery's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So I've got a bunch of ladies here with me, and just wondering, this slide only has 1 through 3 on it, but let me give you an example. Explain why, if Mr. Avery was actively bleeding from his finger, as Mr. Kratz told the jury, there are only 6 spots of his blood in the RAV4.
I mean, if he was actively bleeding, there would have been blood
Actively bleeding,
everywhere.
you'd have more.
Well, and what about the flakes?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How those
the flakes.
How does your blood come out of your actively bleeding finger and dry when it hits the floor?
Or on its way to hitting the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it dries as it's falling.
There must have
Or
been a
makes,
draft there.
artistry on the dash, like a Q-tip. I mean, like a bird.
A mustache, yeah.
Our next
It's a
slide.
laughable question.
That's funny.
Our next slide will be page 2, and it's got questions 4 through 8. So, in looking at some of these questions, my thing was, where are the fingerprints? There is. Let me give you an example. There's fingerprints that were found on that vehicle that were never used to identify anyone because they did not match Avery. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
None.
No. I mean,
No
his
fingerprints. The guilty say he wore gloves. Well, that counts out the first about the blood, because if you had gloves, you wouldn't have blood. And then it counts out the latch, because you wouldn't have no DNA on the latch if you had gloves.
But
So I don't know.
But if you're okay, so if you kill somebody and you're in a hurry to plant their vehicle and get rid of the body, you're when you're planning the RAV, I mean, like you're in a hurry. Like, you don't care about fingerprints, you don't care about gloves, you don't. Your mind is in a frenzy. Your body's in a frenzy. You got to hurry. So you wouldn't.
So those
be worried
could
about
actually belong to the real killer.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I
Or if
think
he's
so.
the planter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The planter. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Unless you believe the planter is the killer, like I do.
Well,
Yeah.
You
and there's
never
also
know.
that bit. There's also that bit about Teresa's fingerprints being on the inside of the door.
Yeah.
How do they
where
have her fingerprints?
Yeah, there was never none of hers, was there?
No.
I mean, if they got him out of her house, as of the 3rd, there was tons of people in her house that could have been looking in her medicine cabinet, touching her things. All her friends were over there. How do they know they're her friends?
Good
Unless
point.
she gave them to a law enforcement agency or was arrested at some point in time for something that they took her prints.
Yeah. Did they even do fingerprints for a driver's license back in those days?
No.
No.
Up
No.
here, they still don't.
They still don't hear either.
Wow.
Okay.
I know the UK.
They do now here in California, especially now with this special ID card that you have to have by year
Oh, your
2021.
real ID. Yeah.
Real ID, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
I have it
basically,
already.
oh, you do?
My
Yes.
husband has one of those, but I don't think he had to give his prints. I could check.
No.
But
Our,
if you have
our,
a passport, you have to give fingerprints. I also know for a nursing license, you have to do a live scan. And I'm a nurse, so you got to give your fingerprints. But regardless, the point is that they focused on Avery and Avery only, pretty much. They
Right.
omitted conveniently to take any fingerprints, any blood samples from certain men in Teresa's life,
oh, yeah.
like Scott Blodorn, like Ryan Hillegas, even like her brother Mike. You know, he's also a very present figure in her life. We don't know anything about Teresa and her relationship with her brother. We know some about Scott, you know, that they were roommates for a long time and that they had what? They were friends with benefits. And with Ryan, who was very present in her life to the last day.
That would
Correct?
that right there tells you, I mean, there's more than one person. I mean, there is what I would call more than one ex. And those are all people that needed to be looked into. And in any other investigation, I dare to say that those would be some of the first people they would be looking at.
Well, and two, if you remember, I think they wanted to take Scott Blodorn's fingerprints and stuff, and they told him, "Oh, you can use the ones that you applied with to the FBI with."
Oh, and speaking of fingerprints, I just checked with my husband because he does have that real ID, driver's license, and they never took his fingerprints. He had 3 forms of ID. That was all that was required.
And
So
I
your
did mine
real ID
online.
is going to be the equivalent of you carrying around all of your proper documentation
Yeah.
papers. Yeah.
Right.
Our next slide is going to be questions 9 through 19. And so what I did was I picked out a phrase to use for this page, and I said what I liked was to describe any forensic process which removes one person's DNA off of an object while leaving the other person's DNA behind.
Yeah. And I
So-
like how she framed it. She said, describe any forensic process known anywhere in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do that. You know, these questions pose legitimate, serious questions that require legitimate, serious research to get the proper answers. Some of them you'll never find the answer because they will not make sense. They don't connect. They don't have a link. You cannot, so far as I know, lift one person's DNA when there's maybe a mix of 2 people's DNA on one object without lifting the other as well. Am I wrong?
Well,
No. And it's really, really unnerving to listen to their story, their narrative that Stephen had 6 drops of blood, 5 in the front and 1 on the side, I think, of the door, which is 823, I think. Or was it a cargo door? I'm not sure. And then Teresa only had like blood in the cargo space in the trunk. And she used that car every single day. For how many years? There's got to
Well,
be
that's
some
not
trend.
only her car, but there's water
key.
bottles there that she would have touched. There's pens there that she would have touched.
What about her key?
the drink
On
can?
her, right. There's nothing on her key that they found in his bedroom. It's
I know.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. She would have had to touch the.
The
Yeah.
DNA matches are just not there with
Yeah.
what their narrative says. It just doesn't fit.
Teresa should have been all over that vehicle.
All over the place.
Inside and out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about
Exactly.
the
And how-
seatbelt?
and-
And I'm
Well,
pretty
and that's-
sure that she did not say, oops, wait a minute, let me clean my vehicle before you kill me. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that happened.
Right, and all they use is a pop can that's wrapped in a napkin sitting in the front when they had so many other things they could have used that she would have touched daily.
And
She
then a
was a
guilter might
smoker.
say, well, the murderer probably cleaned the vehicle, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, but you missed cleaning up your own blood. Mm.
Well, she was a smoker. Wasn't there cigarette butts?
Don't know.
You know, I mean, these are things that are common, that is just common sense.
Yep.
That doesn't
Absolutely
make,
common
you know,
sense.
I mean, common sense will tell you that Stephen didn't clean all the blood and everything and then left his dust and Jody's DNA and his DNA on everything. He just said, dust, lift up, let me clean off the dirty DNA and then go back.
Right.
And put the
right.
dust back.
Yeah.
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 And my DNA and my girlfriend's DNA, please. But
Yeah.
nobody else. I mean, this is some magical stuff. When he gets out of prison, he could go and make $1 million in a day doing this kind of thing.
Yeah. And questions 11 and 12 say, why is there no forensic evidence like blood, hair, skin cells, fingerprints of Miss Hallbuck in Mr. Avery's trailer if she was raped and stabbed there? And explain
Right.
why not even a fragment of Miss Hallbuck's hair was found in Mr. Avery's trailer or garage when Brandon Dassey described cutting her hair.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
mean-
that that's the first thing that he saw on the movie Kiss the Girls, because when that guy put the girl at the tree and killed her, that was the first thing he did, was cut her
Yes.
hair, and that's what you see the investigator pick up that wad of hair. So, being 16 years old, being, you know, of a low IQ, and if I asked the question to Brendan today, what did he do to her head? Okay, roll the video back in your head.
Right. Once again, we're back to the conversation that they had with, well, just play that video. Replay that video in your
Play it
head.
out in your head.
Right.
Yes.
And I think our next slide is going to have some of your favorite stuff on it. It's question 20 through 29. Like, was Teresa unwittingly lured to Avery Salvage Yard when there is a very large sign that reads Avery Salvage Yard?
And she was on
Avery
Avery
Road.
Road. Yeah.
No. That is just a farce as it is. Stephen coming to the door and only a towel. He was in the pool and it only happened once. And she wasn't afraid of him. She'd been going there for a year.
Yep.
Right,
It was
because
her business.
yes, if you go back up to question 9, why would Teresa give him her phone number and call him on the 10th? Well, we know he had an appointment on the 10th, but she gave him the number because then she could use that as a, what do you call that call?
Hustle shot.
Yes,
shot.
Oh,
she-
yeah.
where she would get paid more money by it being a hustle shot rather than an appointment.
And if she was afraid, I mean, come on, ladies.
Right,
If you're
she's
afraid
not
of
gonna
somebody, are you going to give them your personal number? No.
No.
You're going to avoid that person. You're going to pass that job off to somebody else. You're not going
Right.
to be there.
Just
Right.
like she passed, remember?
and or bring somebody with you to work that day.
Exactly.
Right.
I know I don't give my number out to anybody that I'm scared of, and I definitely wouldn't be doing business with somebody that I thought was weird or strange or sexually deviant. I just
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. It's common sense, and I don't, for them to even put this out there that she was afraid of him, and to think like any normal woman, it's common sense that she would just not go there. She would pass it to somebody else. She
That's
would
right.
not do any of
And
that.
she
I
did
agree.
have that common sense, Linda. She
Yes.
totally did, because remember when she was supposed to shoot a big wedding, and she
Yep.
refused to do it because Ryan was going to be there. So
Right.
she had that common sense.
Right. She avoided him. Then she would
Exactly.
avoid
And she
Mr.
was going to
Avery.
make much more money at the wedding shoot than at, taking a
Yeah.
picture of one van.
Exactly.
Maybe we need to try to figure out why she didn't want to be around Ryan.
She didn't have a problem with him. That was a made up story by Dawn. Or whoever,
Right.
that was just something to make Mr. Avery look like he was a predator and that
Yeah,
he
a
had been
deviant,
this
yeah.
way. And they're trying to fit him into a profile that was not him.
Right.
And was not her, obviously, because she did have common sense. She didn't want to be around Ryan because he was stalking her. And she decided not to do the wedding. So to me, that woman had common sense, and they were just trying to make Steven look more of a predator.
So
Right.
our
Well, I'm
next,
not even.
go ahead.
Sorry. I'm not even certain about Ryan stalking her, honestly. I mean, if you look at their phone records, they talk for a considerable amount of time. If he was being an idiot on the phone, like most women, we would just hang it up.
Right.
But they talked excessively.
Yeah. Yep. Which
And
kind
they've
of,
seen each other because he was
Right.
friends both with her and Scott, and he would, you know, come over to their house how many times a week? Like 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, but if she didn't think there was a problem, then why would she avoid the wedding? So obviously he was doing something that made her feel like she didn't want to be around him.
I guess that's where we have to decipher which part of the stories and which part of the stories are false.
Right.
Right.
therefore, we do plenty of research because we looked also
Yes.
into phone calls. They're a lot of them have some kind of a pattern where you can tell that somebody talks to somebody else on a regular basis on specific days, and all of a sudden, when this happens, some of the patterns change a little. Kind
Yeah,
of
like
Yeah,
no
like
freaky.
Ryan and Teresa, they've been talking to each other every Monday, except for Monday, October 31st, when
Right.
he disappeared.
Exactly. Yes, and it was always at a certain time of the day, which would have been around the time that she would have been finished doing her shoots for Auto Trader.
Yep.
I mean,
So
if you look at the schedule.
our
And
next
then Ryan, oh, go ahead.
Well, our next slide is going to be about October 31st, and it's questions 30 through 39. And I basically put on here a question, which is in the list of questions. Why doesn't any family member describe the distinct smell of a burning body on October 31st? October 31st comes up an awful lot, and it's always mentioned October 31st and not Halloween. La la la.
It's Halloween.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think if there would have been a burning body in the rural areas, they do burn carcasses to dead animals. And, I mean, that might not be a smell that is so, let's question it, because in the farm community, they do that.
Well,
I
we're
mean,
Yes,
used
but they
to
also dress it.
as
They take the guts
humans.
out
Well,
and skin it and
well,
stuff.
not
This
if like
is,
a
we're
cow
talking about,
dies and it's found dead
Yeah.
after a day or so.
They burn
They
it.
don't.
But
Yeah.
remember this, as human beings, we're used to cooking steaks and pork on the grill, chicken.
Right.
So that
Mhm.
smell would not be so
Yeah, but it would still smell bad if you were like burning a whole cow that was like bloated and dead, because
Right.
it would
Right.
still have the
Probably.
hair and the hide and the
but it would be
organs and
more
everything.
familiar to us than a smell
Right.
of
The
a human
bowels.
being burned.
There is nothing that smells worse than a burning body.
Right.
Well, the
Well,
city people don't, that would be an unusual smell to them. But what I'm saying is in the country, it might not be such an unusual smell. You know what I mean?
but there would be a smell and somebody would
Yes.
report it.
Right. That somebody would have
Nobody
said,
even-
"Ooh, I
yes.
smelled something," but nobody said anything. And even Brendan went after this apparent fire and played a video game and didn't take a shower and got up the next morning and went to school. That smell would have been on his body.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
the smell of the fire would have
Permeated.
been on his body.
Permeated
Not
out.
just smoke, not just smoke. I'm only speaking experience. My husband was a firefighter, my ex-husband, and I remember him coming home from a burning body fire call, and he literally took his stuff off at the deck, went in the house, up the stairs, and was like trying to ram a bar of soap up his nose because he couldn't get rid of that smell.
Yep.
So
It is bad, it's disgusting, and it is the one smell that you will, even if you don't know what it is, it sends through your body. a
Yes.
Stays
really
there for a
bad
while.
signal.
Yeah.
Something is seriously
Right.
wrong, and it does
And
not
another thing
escape
is,
you.
let's say that they were cooking up a barbecue, hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever. Somebody would have said, yeah, I saw Steven by the fire and he was also cooking barbecue or s'mores or something. They would have
Right.
said, because that's kind of significant. That's what you can see, smell, and even hear, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Right, and we have people coming and going. We have people who say he had a fire. We have Barb saying she brought over a coat for Brendan, but nobody said they could smell anything
Or see it.
or see it.
You know,
for that
because
matter.
according to Brendan, they just laid the body out right there. Just didn't do
Right.
anything. They just laid it completely, which we know that she was dismembered. She was cut because of the bones. But he says they just laid her out there. So, I mean, come on. If people are coming around, they just did that. You're going to see toes or something, you know?
Well, and Earl and Fabian were there too, right? During the burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And laying Teresa in the fire pit, we already know that that's really, is it possible if the fire pit was as big as a regular table? She was taller than that.
I've been
right?
there and I
It's
see
not
where
a pit.
It's not.
It's
It
a
was just
fire
It was
area.
right.
Yeah.
Burning area because there
Right.
was no pit until they got hold of it with that bobcat.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It was a very small area to begin with. You know, I don't even think a body would fit on their hole, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And also, we just did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and Dr. Silkman said that Dehan said that he proved that the fire pit was actually flat, and that it's
Yes.
impossible to burn a body on a flat surface like that. Like they said, it happened. So
Right.
this is just Kratz's stupid story.
More
Plus
shenanigans.
there would be but your body liquids and things leave a darkness in
stain,
the soil. And it goes
Yes.
down deep.
Yeah,
It's a shadow. Right.
So on question 36, it says, explain why Mr. Avery would not have crushed Miss Hallback in her vehicle rather than burning her body in an open fire pit 30 yards from his trailer at 7:30 to 11 p.m. when family members were coming and going and approaching the fire.
Yeah.
Well, according to the Reels documentation, they say that it would have left DNA in it. So, you know.
Well, yeah.
Well, how come
I don't
there
like
was-
the crush the car thing because they went and cut open all the cars that were crushed. I mean, if he crushed the car, he'd either have to bury it and put other cars on top of it, or he'd have to crush it, load it up on a truck, and take it to the metal salvage place and sell the crushed car right away to get rid of it. So,
Right, and there's no record of any of that happening.
So,
And,
so it would have been smarter
well, and
for him.
obviously he didn't because the car's there, supposedly.
Well,
That's right.
Yeah.
There's also evidence of them crushing cars at that time because they had that crusher on loan.
Yeah.
So they were doing a lot of that at that time. So if he was going to get rid of, you know, the car, he would have done that. I'm more than sure he would have.
And if he just raped, cut, butchered, cut hair, shot one person in his trailer and the garage, let's just go with it, and put her whole body, according to Brandon, in the fire flat part area, and would you really leave that body to burn and then go around the salvage yard, 40-acre salvage yard in the golf cart to pick up tires, to pick up brush, to pick up the van seat? No,
Well,
you wouldn't do
and
that.
Having family coming and going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he's also taking phone calls at that time.
Yeah.
And not
While
to
this
mention
is
that
all
it's
happening.
still daylight.
Yeah.
It's still daylight, yes.
Yeah.
Right. If
At
you go
least
by,
in the beginning.
right. If you go by Brendan's statements, and not even Steven's, but by Brendan's, I mean, think of the things he would have had to do in 30 minutes. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's virtually impossible
Uh-huh.
to do all them things and just leave a fire and a body burning there with people coming in back and forth. Does he really think that his family would have never turned him in? Come on. I mean,
I know, with
I
some of
love
the
my
animosity
family.
that was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
I love my
Earl
family.
said I would have.
Yeah.
Earl
Yeah.
said that he would have turned him in.
Yeah.
I love my family, but if I seen a burning body in their fire, I would definitely turn them in.
Run
There's
for the
something
hills.
wrong with that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, I mean, no matter how much you love them,
I
you're
want
gonna
to get
do the
to the
right
next
thing.
slide. We got question 40 through 49. And what I put on the screen was, did the prosecution act in good faith when it changed its theory of the murder by moving all of the events of the crime to the garage after Wisconsin Crime Lab could not detect any forensic evidence in the trailer? This is going to cause the guilters to really have to look into the prosecution, law enforcement, and the crime lab.
Exactly. I mean, we all know that Kretz wasn't giving a narrative until the case was done. So, and in a real murder case or anything like that, you have a pretty clear narrative of what happened by the time you're taking them to court.
Well,
And narratives flow. They have to flow. You have to kind of comprehend that and play it out in your head. This is impossible to play out in a head.
Exactly.
there was never a flow.
Yeah.
No.
Just the flow of bullshit that was coming out of Kratz's mouth.
Yep.
Well, I explained it today. It's like, okay, look at it as a puzzle pieces, right? Well, we're all corner pieces, and even them are weird. They don't go together.
No.
Nothing goes together. You know, I mean, they make you want to believe these things, and they did make the jury believe that, and they're the guilters. But in common sense, you can't put two things together correctly at all. No crime scene. I mean, well, that we know of, that we've been shown, you know.
None of this fits. Anything
Right.
that they've claimed, it says here, explain why the bullet fragment, item FL, which Mr. Kratz claimed had Miss Hallback's DNA on it, did not have detectable blood on it if it entered and exited Miss Hallback's skull.
Well,
You know,
Kratz says he didn't say it was the bullet that went through her head. That's what he's going to say, because that is what he said.
yeah.
But they're wanting you to believe that it did go through her head.
Right.
So why is there wood on it? Because unless she's Pinocchio,
Yeah.
and
I
Pinocchio
know.
with red painted hair.
So the next slide is going to be questions 50 through 62. And if Steven removed the forensic evidence of Teresa from his garage, how did he distinguish between his DNA and Teresa's DNA? And I believe one of you was
That's my
asking that
favorite
earlier.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that magic stuff he did. Please DNA, lift up while I clean the dirty stuff off, and then go back.
Yeah,
He
this
must-
is hers, this is
he
mine.
must
One for
have
you,
an
one for
N.
me.
He must have an N for some really magic erasers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shoot,
savant.
wow.
the savant. Yeah.
I
He
need
can
some
And
of
then it says,
those.
explain
Well,
why the
with-
paper, which the state claims Mr. Avery used to transport Miss Hallback's bloody body, has no forensic evidence of Miss Hallback on it. Exactly.
Yeah,
Come on. And we're talking about moving the body 15 feet.
yeah.
Right.
And
And,
then-
even the fact there's so much stuff in that garage, little boxes of little bits of things all over that garage, and there's no spray, no from the bullet.
Right.
No.
Well, let's look at their cleanup video when they were luminizing. Everything
Oh.
was removed. So why didn't they see the bullet then?
Exactly.
I mean, that stuff was removed. It makes no. I mean, they have pictures to prove that they moved everything out and did all that, and then they put it all back in there, and then they find a bullet.
Mhm.
Yes, they
After
find
they
it 6
just-
months later.
Yes, that is just
Ludicrous.
so. It
With
is.
not a spot of dust, let alone from the concrete being, but from 6
It would have been
months.
buried under that.
Oh,
From
yeah.
6 months of it sitting, even though it's under a compressor, there
Right.
is still going to wind up with
Yeah,
dust.
the concrete dust was everywhere. It would have been
Yeah.
loaded, even underneath the toolbox. It would have been, because it flew everywhere. You could see by the pictures it was everywhere but on that bullet.
And concrete
Yeah, that's
dust
that
is the
fine dust.
worst. It is the worst. You can't
It
just
is.
that's like the worst.
Yeah, it is. Because you can't just wipe it off. It, you just like blow it off. It's
It
not going
requires
to.
a literal cleaning for sure. Our next
Yeah.
slide is going to have questions 63 through 74. Unidentified blood on the rear cargo door excludes Stephen and Brandon.
When did
But see, they're not identifying whose fingerprints are all over this vehicle. Who else's blood is in there? It doesn't make any sense.
Right, they exclude the Averys, but they don't include anybody.
Yep.
Right. Wouldn't you think that you'd be all over that? Okay, look, we're in the middle of an murder investigation. Here's some weird blood here that don't belong to the people. And there's these fingerprints that we can't match with anybody. So maybe we should go do another round of fingerprints and take a bigger selection of fingerprints and some
run it-
DNA until
Well,
we
how
find
about-
who it
something.
belongs to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be normal?
Your
Like-
normal investigation, yes.
Like doing your job a little,
And
Well,
an
remember what
actual,
trying to
Chad
make
said.
it, or trying to make
Chad-
it look like you're doing your job. Yeah.
Don't you think that would make the prosecutor itself? And I am saying, if you're a legit prosecutor, wouldn't that make you say, okay, wait a minute, we can't prosecute this person because there's somebody else might be involved here. There's some other evidence pointing away from this
Yeah,
person.
go back and do a better job and check out the
Right.
rest of the people and then get back to me.
that's
Right.
So,
what
ladies, who's to say that they didn't and they found out exactly who the prints belong to, or have a really good idea if they were there, and they said, never mind, we didn't do it. Didn't Chad say
Right.
when he was
Right.
interviewed by that guy, he
Right.
said, well, I don't have a
Yes.
file in front of me.
And
We're
in
looking for
fact,
DNA.
wouldn't you have to have it tested to find out if it wasn't the Averys? You would have to.
Well, they
So-
did.
They
Right,
did
that's
test
what
it.
that's what I'm saying. They ran them tests to find out it wasn't the Averys, and maybe
Right,
they
but
just
they-
left out who it was.
They had only came up with supposedly a partial on the blood, but there was a whole big splash of blood that was seeable in the photos. So why didn't she go back, re-swab it, get a full DNA sample?
Because they already had the guy with the undusty bullet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
And I believe they probably do know who it was.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure
I'm sure they do.
they do.
Well, the
In
thing
order
is
to
that they
convict
present and what they're presenting it as is ludicrous because of the simple fact that there were so many more prints, so much more as far as DNA that they could have gotten or identified that we are not made aware of.
Right.
It makes
Well,
it all
and-
ludicrous.
And
They
I'm the
wanted
one who believes that she's alive and that she never died and that this whole thing is a big setup that they just did to create the illusion of Avery having done something so that they could put him away.
For good.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
I'm with you,
And
BB.
Yep.
in order to frame somebody, you're going to have to know who the real person is too, don't you think? I mean, I would think you would. To have a perfect frame job, you'd have to know who the player was.
Well, yeah, and the DNA, also the DNA, the supposed blood, the pop can, everything else in the car would have to not belong to the person.
right. Right.
They would have to belong to the fake person.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, because even that diet cherry cola, whatever she was, Pepsi, cherry Pepsi, that could have been placed into the car.
Yep.
Right.
Yes, I'm sure it was. That's why
Yeah.
it had a paper towel around it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
can
they did
anyone
tell.
go ahead?
No, go ahead.
I was going to go to a question, but you finish your phrase.
I was just going to say they did tell Teresa's brother that there was nothing nefarious that they seen
Yeah,
with the rap when
correct.
they first found it.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
foul play.
After they've been in it. After
Right.
they've been in it already.
Right. And he said
And then
that's hopeful.
suddenly the narrative changes.
And they never
Exactly.
opened it.
Why is there only a little teeny bit of her blood in the back if she was shot in the head?
I swear it's like one tube's worth. That just
That
they
is
poured
not-
out along the edge. I don't believe the car was moving. I believe they poured it out along the edge. And they took a little bit in a syringe and shot it at the back door.
Yep.
And
And
Yeah.
that's
where's the
proven
cargo
it's
mat?
entirely possible that that's what took place.
Where
Exactly.
is the cargo mat? Because when you look at it, that cargo mat is so clean, it's ridiculous. Obviously, there was something on top of it because you can see along the edges there's some dirt and like normal wear and tear, dust.
Right.
Even if there's blood, but there's 99% of it is just pristine clean. Well, where
Even
is
if,
that?
even if you used a tarp and wrapped her body up in
Yes.
it, you'd have leakage of it dragging it out. You know,
And
I
you have
mean,
dirt on your hands. Even if you wear
yeah,
gloves, there's going to be
right.
dirt on the gloves. You can't explain it to be
No.
too clean.
So
Yep.
And that's the problem with the RAV.
I want to
Yep.
jump to something else. Explain why Ryan Hilligus accessed Teresa Hallback's singular account at 5:48 p.m. before the investigators arrived at Miss Hallback's residence. This is question number 74.
Yeah,
Explain
why did
anything
Ryan
about
Hilligus insert
Hilligus.
himself?
Explain anything about Hilligus or his behavior that makes any sense.
Right.
Yeah.
None of it does.
He inserted
his
himself far
boyfriend,
too
he was-
much.
And he doesn't know if it's day or night, and
Okay,
he has
that.
search parties, and he passes out maps and cameras and special phone numbers to people who are
Yeah.
related to them. And
So
Yeah, you
he
go on a special mission.
singular account is accessed a second time at 7:18 p.m. This is the next slide would be questions 75 through 86.
I'm sorry, I keep hearing in my head, that nice boy, Ryan Hilligan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that
sorry.
nice boy. He was such
Yeah.
a help.
Yeah.
Oh, but Ryan was
Well,
I want to know
better
what.
this time.
That was so funny, Linda. Oh my God. You guys killed me with that.
The thing that bothers me is that has not been, you know, when Strain brought it up in court that he wanted to find out who deleted or whatever, and then Kratz goes, well, if you're saying she's alive, which was not anything he was saying.
Right.
You know, I mean, that should have really, they should have focused on that phone a little bit more.
I think that was a Freudian slip.
Maybe her
on
last
Kratz's part.
communication.
I
Me
do
too,
too.
Bibi.
Yes.
I think that
Me
was
too.
a Freudian
He did not
slip.
have a reason to
I
word it
think
that way at all.
Right.
Right.
I think it was his own guilty conscience speaking out loud.
Because he knew that she was
He
alive.
knew.
There was something on there he didn't want anyone to see or hear.
Right.
So
There were- yeah.
I want to ask question 79. Why did Ryan Hilligus claim to be with Kelly Pitson at Miss Hallback's house on November 3rd, all afternoon until midnight or 1 a.m., when Pitson called him at 5:16 p.m. and Ryan called Pitson at 7:18 p.m.?
Maybe they're checking in on each other when they go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
Maybe they're
That's
maybe
another-
they're, cooking up an alibi.
yeah, that's another really odd situation that makes no sense. That wasn't
So-
questioned.
What were we talking about the other day with alibis and them not being really checked?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like Bobby and Scott being their own alibi. I mean,
Mm.
you know, that's laughable in court. You're not going to have that happening.
Who had possession of the day planner?
Yeah,
Right.
Ryan did.
exactly.
Yep.
Mhm. And did the
Ryan is-
swab ever really touch the hood latch?
No, it doesn't look like it. Would
Do
have
you
been
know how
black.
dirty it would be
Yeah,
if at the end of October, even at the beginning of October, if she had washed her car? How
well, look
it
at her
would be-
car.
If
It was
they
muddy.
swabbed it, yeah, on the outside it was, so underneath in the front end is going to be equally
Worse.
as dirty. Yeah, if you
And
take
grimy.
a Q-tip
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
go
can
and
promise
rub
you, when I wash my car, I'm damn sure not opening the hood and washing my hood latch.
anybody,
Hmm.
go moisten a Q-tip and
I
go out. You take a dry one and take a moist one and go rub your hood lash and see what you get. You know,
I have used a
Oh.
tissue to see if, you know, just put a tissue on there and opened it up, and the tissue is dirty.
Yep.
You know, and this is on a newer car. I mean, it was on my mom's car. She just got it. And I just used a tissue because I didn't want to get grease on my hands. I didn't know, but it was dirty. It wasn't greasy, but it
no,
was
it
dirt.
wouldn't be greasy. No, not
Right.
unless, yeah,
But you
you
have
were.
to understand too that you know, you're driving your car down the highway and go if you wash your car spray that shine stuff on your wheels, and then in a couple of days check it, and there's all this dust. That would be the same road
Crap that's on that hood latch.
dust.
Grime.
Yeah,
Grime.
Yeah.
agree.
Exactly.
Nope.
I used to always tell everybody, I defy you to find me one clean spot in this case because the whole case is dirty. But then I really thought about it one day, and there is one teeny little clean spot, and that's that hood latch swab.
Exactly.
Shouldn't be clean, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be
The
clean.
cleanest.
Yeah.
Exactly. I totally agree with you, BB. There is one
That's
clean
a good
spot.
one.
Yeah, yeah. Now our next slide is going to be questions 87 through 100. And I just put on the side here, obvious suspects are never even considered. Teresa's call to Zipperer's recording at 2:15 p.m. is never turned over to the defense. You know,
Yeah, Dennis Jacobs
These-
took that one, and he
These
Yeah.
are some of our
passed.
favorite ones,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are all potential suspects that were never looked in the way they should have been, ever. I mean, you're never going to ever see this in a case anywhere. First person they look at is the person closest to them. They didn't even do that. That's a normal investigation.
right, right.
Right. And they never even took any calls serious that people were calling in with information. Like the gentleman who said he was on a ferry and he was sure it was her, was someone who was in his 40s.
Or
The
the
people,
Walmart.
the people who seen her at the Walmart, not once but twice, and then at the McDonald's or Taco
the
Bell
Del Taco
wherever
or
it
whatever
was.
it was.
Yeah.
Or the person pounding on Leo's door.
Right. None of those. There's nothing there to show.
We should try and gather all those together and
Yes.
maybe talk about that one day.
I think
Yeah.
That
so.
would be good.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could
It's
take one.
worth having a good discussion over for the simple fact that we know there was no proper investigation. I mean, it's very
Absolutely
clear.
not. I don't even
We
think
could
if you were.
we could ask everybody right here, right now, if they want us to do that.
Yeah.
Oh
They
yeah.
could, like vote or
Vote a
say
thumbs
yes
up
or
if you
thumbs
want to
up.
hear. Yeah. Vote for a
Well,
thumbs
you
up.
can't
for
see
you.
mine, but it's an
Thumbs
up.
Yep. Yep.
did.
And now, question 100. It says, explain why the following statements by Mr. Kratz are true in light of the evidence refuting these statements. So what I did was I did post up one slide of some of the examples which are given. And I don't know. I wrote Kratz quotes, the manipulation. A link will be in the description to see this challenge in full. I'm not going to go through all of those for obvious reasons, but
Dig into it.
you know, it's going to become another thing we will talk about because right now we're really, really just trying to focus on the Guilters challenge. We want to encourage everyone to just look at this, take a look at it. And for those of you who are already in the case and digging around, you know some obvious answers to these, and some of these just cannot be answered because they just are not true, you know?
Exactly.
But I want to know from the listeners, what's on your mind? You know, leave a comment, let us know. You can continue to leave comments or even in the chat, let us know what you want to hear discussed. And
Or come to Discord and discuss it.
that's
Right.
right. That's right. That's
And
what
Right,
that's
and
what this is.
in the Foul Play Discord, there's even a PowderPuff room there where you could sign up to do a project on here, or
Yep.
come on and help
Yeah.
us, or whatever.
Join a
Right.
discussion.
Or just listen. You don't even
Or-
have to
or
talk. You can
leave
just
us-
listen.
Leave us ideas there of things you'd
Well,
like to see or
we
hear.
really, really want to incorporate people into this as far as the conversation goes, because although speculation is dropped very often and used as a label for people who are speculating, to me, you know, this whole case was based on speculation only. So
Yes.
my question is to the listener. In a proper investigation, how many possible suspects are there in this case? And in what order? Because you know, when you look at this, none of the appropriate people were ever questioned or considered. Nobody.
Right. Total
Right.
tunnel vision towards Steven.
Absolutely.
Targeting towards Steven.
Exactly, targeting. Exactly.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is it. There's far more suspects that are likely than Steven.
Oh, yes.
Get Steve Avery at all costs.
Yeah.
And another thing too, they can also leave their questions
Absolutely.
in the chat, and then that way maybe later on we can grab all those together and try to see what we can make of those.
Total
Absolutely.
community involvement.
Oh, yeah. You know, on the questions to listeners, I have questions like, how far does the corruption go? And how long will it continue? And was the state's case against Stephen pure speculation? And so far, that's all I can come to the conclusion of this case that they developed against him to charge him with murder was based on speculation alone.
Right. It was with a narrative that doesn't work.
Yeah. So,
And common sense will tell you.
what do y'all think of that Gilter's challenge? I mean, we've briefly kind of went over it.
I don't know. I think it's been out there for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The 10,000.
You would think a few of the
Sorry.
guilters would have got together and tried to
Yep.
pull their information and maybe did some actual research
Exactly.
and try and see if they could answer them or
BB, that
When
might require a little bit of work.
Right, rather than just sitting and, bad mouthing people.
and
being
saying,
ignorant.
"Oh, they were found guilty by a court of law, a jury of their peers."
They would have to
Yeah.
put down their slingshots.
That
and
was tainted.
actually go do
It would need to
something.
be a wholesome adventure, full-hearted. Like, let me really look into it. But they don't want it. They're so oppositional and defiant.
Mhm.
They just toot their horn, and that's, what they do.
And on Kathleen's behalf, I think this was absolutely marvelous of her to put this out there. I mean, because it deals with every single thing we talk about, as BB said, every day. Every day these questions come up, and every day we're looking for answers. And we're truthers. So the guilters, come on, you guys, you must have the answers to these already.
Oh, I'm hoping to see some kind of response to, somebody that could actually explain some of this to me. It doesn't
Me too.
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been waiting for 4 years.
I
I
am
picture the
waiting.
skeleton waiting on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I won't hold my breath.
Nobody's going to hold it against you if you actually do some work in this and realize you're on the wrong side of the fence. You come on over.
Yeah.
We'll
I
welcome
would
you.
actually welcome it if somebody proved this wrong. I would,
Oh, me
because we
too.
would
Yes.
know the truth.
We take every single scenario and we walk through it as best we can for everyone involved, because it's the only way any of it's really going to get solved in any way, shape, or form. But right now, I'd like to just flip the topic and the subject of the conversation and remind everybody, to stay clean and healthy. And when you're being pelted by all these rates on the virus, please look for recovery rates when this virus update is being shoved in your face. Demand that media and reporters, demand them to provide the recovery rates, because I'm discovering now with some of this that some of these reports have switched from a specific virus to the overall a flu count, which includes all flus, which is very deceptive, and it's bolstering the numbers when they say virus or flu, and people are panicking over that. Please take a step back and look at all of the rates. Make sure that it is specific to what you're really concerned about, and not a general overall all flu kind
we have
of a
to-
rate.
Right.
We also
Stay
have to
calm.
remember.
Stay
that-
calm. Wash your hands. Don't lick things, and be a decent human being.
Yeah.
And you also have to keep in fact that a lot of people are not reporting. So you have to also have that kind of in your mind too, that some people aren't going to the doctor and they're not reporting this because they don't have insurance or they're afraid or whatever.
there's no test kits in their area.
Exactly. So you also have to keep that in mind too.
Mhm.
So just everybody stay home, be safe, watch Foul Play, join Discord, and let's talk. This is a great time for all of us to get together.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And-
but just please look for your recovery rates.
Yes.
Right.
And off topic here again, but Linda Kay will be following you. So hopefully
Linda K
your
listening.
your
YouTube.
podcast is hysterical
Linda
again,
Kay.
And
as
you've
it
got to
was
watch
last
them.
week.
You've got to watch
Oh
her
my
YouTube.
God.
And
Yeah.
also
Thank you, you
maybe
guys.
we-
Thank you very much. It's
They
a lot
have
of fun.
Oh, Linda, can you do an interview with Sherry Cole?
I think she's the next.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, nice.
I can't wait.
And another thing too, mention the readings that are going to be posted
Oh.
by Foul Play,
Yes,
because that's really important as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, we're going to
they
have Steven
started.
Avery
They
case
started
files.
last night.
Yep.
Yep.
Stephen Avery case files. They're going to be
Yes.
on the Foul Play YouTube. And we're going to have several people reading those. And so that ought to be very interesting.
I love it. I hate reading.
And don't forget to go to the Foul Play website, because there is a host of information there where you can pull up all
As well
the
as
case
the library.
information.
And it's all
As
free.
library.
And
It's
it might
all
say
free.
and it might say Foul Play on it, but it's based on everybody in the community. So I
Correct.
thank you, Foul
Yes.
Play. for
Everybody
doing
has worked on that. Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
it. It is brilliant.
And I
And
want
it's
to
free.
I want to let you guys know, in every one of our podcasts, we look for feel-good topics. And BB shared one in Facebook, and I couldn't get the link off of it. So it was so strange that very same moment I had Veritas share with me something, and I watched it, and it made me cry. But it was called Rising Up Across America, Saluting the Heroes, Saving Lives. And the link is going to be in the description. But there's an awful lot of good stuff going on in this day and age with the fear that is being instilled upon us, that, they want us in a state of fear is how I feel. And so when I look at those feel-good things, it reminds me of the human spirit, and how wonderful all of us really are deep down inside, and when it matters the most. And I want everybody to find that link and watch that. It's, just one of a million wonderful things that are going on.
Right. Imagine
Some people are using this lockdown time to be creative. Some of the things are just extremely creative.
Well, it's a great time to get to know your family again, to get to know your friends again at a safe distance.
Uh-huh.
To read good books, to think of good things to do to people that you can't see. I mean,
Yes,
write
because there's
cards.
always a way. There's always a way to
Exactly.
be kind.
Right, it is.
Well,
The
there's
spirit
several videos that I've seen here lately where youngsters are having their birthday, and because they're on lockdown, they're having to celebrate it in their house alone at home. And what's happening is neighbors are getting together and they're going around in their car, and the parents will have put out in the front of the yard, there's a sign saying today is so-and-so's third birthday, and the child will be out in the yard, and the cars will go by and they'll be hollering at him happy birthday and waving and honking. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's like we're showing the world that we're still in unison. We're still together.
Yes. I've seen numerous
internet.
Yes, and numerous positive messages people are posting on their windows.
And putting lights out that say love and peace.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, and they
those are
count
all
the
important.
hearts. They count the hearts in the windows. Yeah,
Yep.
for walks.
And the rainbows in the UK.
That is so cool.
Oh, okay.
That's
so
great.
Cool. Yeah.
We all have good human spirit. We just need to remember we
That's
are all
right.
human.
We
now's
are
a
all
great
human.
time to let let yourself shine from the inside out and just share with everyone, just those sorts of things, as simple as they may seem, make a world of difference for everybody, not just for you.
A smile costs nothing, and it means a million to some.
Yep, that's right.
That's right. With one
be-
smile, you can change the world.
I believe that.
Check on those elderly people that are in your family, might be your next door neighbor, the ones that can't drive, the ones that can't get out, to make sure that they have the things that keep them comfortable during this time as well.
Exactly.
Yes, and
Be
even the
there.
children who are feeling like they're lost in a home where not necessarily they feel loved, just remember to make a little parcel and drop it on their doorstep and let them know they're not alone.
Now is a good time to be that village when you're raising children.
Yeah.
Right.
Be watchful. There's a lot of
Have you seen some of the YouTube videos these teachers are doing that are either PE teachers or music teachers? And I mean, they're taking these kids on a journey of a lifetime. They wouldn't have had this had it not been for all of this.
Right.
I'm really impressed. I've been moved by the display of the human spirit here in all of this, because when it started, I felt doom and gloom and upset, and now I feel overjoyed at the fact that people really are stepping up. And
it's not pandemic, it's heartdamic.
Yeah, that's right. It's choices that we make too.
Yes.
I mean, if we fall into a rut and we're always negative, then we're going to spew out negativity to everyone else. So if we just stay positive and spread love, it'll be good. We'll all get through
and check on those people who are sometimes depressed and are afraid to reach out. Make sure you check on them, and everybody just know that there's people out there for you to talk to.
That's right, because
Come join Discord.
That's right, because not only are our people in our world dealing with this epidemic that's going around, they call coronavirus, but I mean, we still have daily lives. People are still being sick for other reasons. People are passing away. People are dealing with depression. It's just important that we just step up and take a moment.
That's right. That's right. And I just wanted to mention just how very proud I am of humanity right now because of the good things that I'm seeing in light of what's going on. So I just want to say thank you to everyone out there. Have helped me through it, because I have to leave the house and go to work every day, and I want to because I know what I'm doing matters. So I just want to say to everyone out there, thank you. And I'm just loving some of the responses that are out there. And
Sammy shows up every day at a grocery store and stocks shelves, with people in there, without people in there. So she's right there in the front line providing you with food.
And we have food in there.
I want to thank our healthcare workers and our service workers and people like Sammy who are providing all this for those who are afraid to go to work. Bus drivers, people who are putting their life.
Drivers. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I can tell you they are under some pressure because places they're going are to warehouses with armed guards, and some of these stores also have armed guards at their bay because they're overburdened
robbing. They're overburdened from all the hoarding that people were doing, which is ridiculous.
Somebody said to me, they were blessed with, like, they don't have to worry about taking the time out to sleep. And I said, are you kidding me? These guys need a rest. They need to rest. They need that sleep. They're really getting pounded. So I just want to say to anyone out there who's ever been a trucker, who is a trucker, God bless you and thank you, because without you guys, we really wouldn't function.
And I can relate because I come from a family of them. Yes, it is a very hard job, and they're very dangerous right now because there are people who are not so nice. But
Right.
if we all know that this is a worldwide thing and we're all in it together,
Yep.
we can make it through.
That's right.
Mhm.
And we will. We will.
And thank you to all the nurses and the doctors that have stepped up and given, you know, all their time away from their families, that have stuck by these people who are in desperate need of help.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, and even I mean, we have people who have come out of retirement, nurses and doctors. We have preachers and ministers who are now doing services via online. I mean, things that this is
Drive
what
through.
our
We're going to stay connected.
what our internet should be used for. We're still connected, and we're all connected in a positive way.
Yes.
And maybe when
Exactly.
schools do resume, parents will be nicer to the teachers now that they see a little different perspective on having to teach their own kids.
Yeah.
True.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah.
Yes, it
That's
is.
true.
yeah, I've
That
seen
is
tons of
true.
memes, so everybody must be feeling it. So
Anybody who's working now is putting their life in danger and is risking their health for us. So
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
and also a heads up to Mr. Pillow, who has switched his factory to making masks.
Yes, a lot of companies are doing that. Even the sanitary wash. People are liquor stores, beer stores, or beer producers are making sanitizer now.
Wow.
So it's amazing how things are switching up.
And I bet it's
And
food
if you
grade.
can't find a mask, if you can't find a mask, go to the dollar store and get yourself one of them eye covers to sleep with because they work really nice.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, really?
Yes, they do. You know what ones that put your shades over and you go to sleep, those little eye covers? They go across your eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, they work wonderful as a mask.
Wow.
I know our
Do
local.
they have the right micron rating though?
Oh, they're thick.
Right.
They're like a
Yeah,
bra.
they're thick. I bet you probably could barely breathe through it.
Yeah, it's kind of fashionable too.
Could you imagine? Has anyone ever thought of maybe if they're making masks, raid your mom or your grandma's bra drawer and
I've seen it.
There's a meme about
I
that.
actually seen somebody make one from one of those. I don't have
I've seen
one
a
of those.
meme about that. Yeah,
I did too.
Oh,
What's
my
better
goodness.
the
than
mother
other
with the
one?
big boobs, her bra covered the child's entire face.
Need some eye holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
We
my
used to call
goodness.
those my
Laughter is
grandma's
a good
bras
cure.
parachutes.
Oh,
There
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell everyone before we close this down and call it a day. I want to tell you, don't count the days. Make the days count.
Right.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, stay positive. This has been a Foul Play production.